Imagine, if you will, a man who has spent 30 years sitting on an old, tattered wooden box by the side of a dusty road. His shoulders are hunched, his eyes are weary, and his hand perpetually extended, holding out a faded baseball cap to every stranger who passes by. He mumbles for a few spare coins, living as a beggar because he believes himself to be one. He is defined by his lack, his struggle, and his constant, mechanical reaching for something outside of himself to sustain his existence. One afternoon, a stranger stops. He doesn't reach for his wallet. Instead, he looks at the beggar and asks a question that seems almost insulting in its simplicity. "What is it you're sitting on?" The beggar shrugs, dismissing the inquiry. "It is just an old box," he says. "Something is sat on for as long as he can remember. It has no value. It is merely a seat." But the stranger insists. He urges the man to look inside. Prying open the lid with a mixture of disbelief and irritation, the beggar finds that he has been sitting on a literal fortune. The box is filled with gold. I am that stranger, and in truth, I have nothing to give you. I am here to tell you that you are already sitting on the gold. We live our lives as psychological beggars, wandering through the corridors of our own minds, pleading for a scrap of validation from a coworker, a moment of security from a bank account, or a flicker of love from a partner to make us feel whole. We carry a heavy, invisible weight, a mental noise that whispers we are not enough, that we are missing a vital piece of the puzzle. We are wealthy in potential, but we live in a state of daily psychological poverty. We remain beggars only because we refuse to look inside the box of our own being. We are so intensely identified with the noise of the mind, the constant labels, the judgments, the definitions of who we think we should be, that we have closed the lid on our own essence. This identification creates a screen that blocks our relationship with ourselves and the world, leaving us in an unnecessary, exhausting internal war. But who is this self that we are fighting with? And who is the one doing the fighting? For most of my life, I existed in a state of nearly continuous anxiety, punctuated by periods of suicidal depression. My mind was a relentless storm, and the loathing I felt for my own existence eventually became unbearable. It came to a head one night when the weight of the world seemed to collapse upon me. I said to myself, I cannot live with myself any longer. In that moment of absolute dread, a question arose that shattered my reality. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me. The I and the self that I cannot live with. I realize then that perhaps only one of them is real. This is the great delusion we all carry. We have created a phantom self, an ego built out of memory and anticipation, and we have mistaken this fragile mental construct for who we actually are. The philosopher Descartes famously claimed, I think, therefore I am. He believed he had discovered the ultimate foundation of human reality, but he actually gave voice to the most fundamental error of our species, equating thinking with being. We have become victims of disease we consider normal, the disease of compulsive thinking. The mind is a superb tool when used for a specific task, but for most of us, we don't use our mind. Our mind uses us. It has become a survival machine, a master that won't let us find the off button. Because the mind is a survival machine, it views everything through the lens of threat and defense. Identifying with it keeps you in a perpetual state of emergency. This phantom self thrives on mental noise and the illusion of separateness, convincing you that you are an isolated fragment in a hostile universe. Because this ego is a mere mental construct, it is inherently vulnerable. It constantly feels under threat, which is why your body is perpetually receiving messages of danger, manifesting as that low-level background static of unease. To move beyond this, We must recognize that thinking is only a tiny aspect of a much vaster intelligence that sustains all life. This phantom self survives on a specific fuel, and that fuel is time. If we are to end this internal war, we must understand the primary weapon of the ego, psychological time. We often treat time as a precious commodity to be managed, but it is essential to differentiate between clock time and psychological time. Clock time is practical. It is the time we use to make an appointment, to learn from a past mistake, so we don't repeat it, or to plan a trip. But psychological time is an obsession. It is the identification with the past for your sense of identity and the future for your promise of salvation. It is a refusal to honor the present moment because the mind is always trying to get somewhere else. To understand the unreality of this, consider the earth for a moment. Imagine devoid of human life, inhabited only by the trees, the flowers, and the eagles. If you were to ask an oak tree what time it is, it would look at you with bemusement. What time? It would ask. The time is now. What else is there? For the rest of creation, the now is the only reality. But for us, the mind seeks to cover up the present moment with a heavy burden of past and future. We live in what I call the anxiety gap. This gap exists because you are here in the now, but your mind wants to be there in the future. You are trying to cope with an imagined projection that does not yet exist. And since you cannot take action in a future moment, you feel stressed, tense, and fractured. The mind treats the past and future as if they have their own reality, but they are nothing more than memory traces or imagined projections reactivated in the present. Think of it through a math analogy. The now is the sun, the source of all light, heat, and reality. The past and the future are like the moon. They are cold, dead rocks with no light of their own. They can only reflect the light of the now. When you dwell in the past, you are looking at a pale, borrowed reflection of a former now. When you obsess over the future, you are looking at an imagined reflection of a future now. Their reality is entirely borrowed from the light of your current consciousness. Without the sun of the now, the past and future simply vanish into the nothingness they truly are. When we are identified with psychological time, our life loses its vibrancy. We act out old patterns of behavior in an endless repeat performance. We see this insanity on a collective scale as well. Ideologies like communism or National Socialism are the ultimate expressions of psychological time. They operate under the belief that a higher good or a perfect society exists in a projected future. Because the mind values this future end, it justifies the most horrific means in the present, the enslavement, torture, and murder of millions. This is a chilling result of believing a future heaven can be built on a present hell. It is an accumulation of time so dense that it becomes murderous. In your own life, this manifests as a state of waiting. Are you a habitual waiter? Do you spend your life waiting for the next vacation, a better job, or a truly meaningful relationship? This is what I call large-scale waiting. But there's also small-scale waiting. Standing in line at the post office, sitting in a traffic jam, or waiting for a web page to load. In both cases, you are creating an internal conflict. You don't want to be where you are. You want to be where you aren't. You are reducing the present moment, which is the only thing you will ever actually have, to a mere stepping stone to a future that is forever out of reach. Waiting is a state of mind that strips the now of all intrinsic value. It is the belief that the next moment is more important than this moment. True salvation is not in time. You cannot be free in the future. Presence is the only key to freedom, which means you can only be free now. All negativity is caused by this accumulation of psychological time. Stress and worry are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, and resentment are caused by too much past and not enough presence. To end the war, we must realize that the present moment is the only point that can take us beyond the limited confines of the mind. This realization is a turning point, leading us to the physical manifestation of our time-bound suffering, the pain body. The exit from this cycle of pain is not through more thinking, but through presence. The single most vital step on your journey is to learn to disidentify from your mind. You must become the watcher or the witnessing presence. Most of us hear a voice in our heads, a continuous monologue of judgment, speculation, and worry. We take this voice to be ourselves. But when you start to listen to that voice impartially, without judging or condemning what it says, you realize something profound. There's the voice, and here I am listening to it. This I am realization is not a thought. It is a new dimension of consciousness. When you watch the thinker, you withdraw energy from a mind. It is like watching the mouse hole for the next thought to come out. Try it right now. Close your eyes and ask yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be? And wait. You will notice that as long as you are in a state of intense, alert waiting, your mind stays still. You have created a gap of no mind. In that gap, there is no noise, only a luminous substance of pure awareness. At first, these gaps will be short, a few seconds of stillness before the mental noise rushes back in, but with practice, they grow longer. In these gaps, you feel a subtle emanation of joy, the joy of being. This is also how we transmute the pain body. The pain body is an invisible parasite of trapped life energy, a residue of past emotional pain that lives in your body. It is like a dormant monster that awakens when it is time to feed. It feeds on negative thinking and emotional drama. It wants you to get angry or depressed or resentful because that negativity is its only food. But the pain body is afraid of the light of your consciousness. It depends on your unconscious identification with it for its survival. The moment you observe the pain body, feeling its energy feel within you without turning it into a thought, the identification is broken. You are no longer the emotion. You are the watcher. By allowing the emotion to be there without fighting it, you bring the light of consciousness into the darkness. This is the ancient art of alchemy, the transmutation of suffering into consciousness. You don't need to solve your problems. You need to realize that in the intense presence of the now, problems cannot survive. They need time to live. In the now, there are only situations to be dealt with or accepted as they are. Presence is not a task you perform. It is a way of inhabiting reality. To stay present in a world that is designed to pull you into the future, you need portals, anchors that prevent the mind from dragging you back into the illusion of psychological time. These are not chores. They are gentle reminders of the life that is already here. The first and most direct portal is to inhabit the inner body. Usually we are out of our body, trapped in the abstractions of our heads. To reclaim your consciousness, direct your attention into your body. Feel the subtle energy field that pervades your hands, your arms, your feet, your abdomen. Can you feel the tingling or the aliveness in every cell? This inner body is not a physical object you can see. It is an invisible tether to the unmanifested, the source of all life. When you are in touch with this inner energy, you're like a tree with deep roots. No matter what storm happens on the outside, you remain still. You are anchored in being. Another portal is the art of listening. Most of us don't truly listen. We just wait for our turn to speak while our mind analyzes the other person's flaws. To truly listen, you must listen with your whole body. Create a still space of no mind and give the other person the most precious gift you can give. Space to be. Feel your own inner presence while you listen to them. This is the beginning of the realization of oneness, where the labels of me and you begin to dissolve into a shared silence. You can also use the practice of conscious breathing. Follow the breath as it moves in and out. This simple act draws consciousness away from mind activity and creates a gap. Or use the portal of silence. Listen to the silence between sounds. Only the stillness within you can perceive the silence without. These portals are always available in a traffic jam, in a grocery line, or while washing your hands. Instead of waiting and being stressed, use those moments to feel the inner body in the silence. They serve as anchors, keeping you in a now where the phantom self cannot follow. We have come full circle. We began as beggars sitting on gold, and we end with the realization that the power has been in the now all along. The internal war ends not when you finally win a battle against your thoughts, but when you stop fighting and step out of the dimension of time altogether. You are already complete. Your life situation, your job, your relationships, your health may have its challenges, but your life is perfect. Life is the being underneath the life situation. Think of the sky. Sometimes it is heavily overcast with dark clouds of thought and emotion, and it seems as if the sun has disappeared. We feel cold, and we believe the light is gone. But the sun never truly disappears. It is always there, radiant and untouched on the other side clouds. Your presence is that sun. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. When you are intensely present, you become transparent to the light of pure consciousness. You realize that you are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That is how important you are. The universe is awakening through your eyes and through your stillness. Take this with you today. You don't need time to be who you are. You don't need the future to be fulfilled. Just be the watcher of your mind. Smile at the voice in your head, as you would at the antics of a child. Be the silent witness to the world around you. In that stillness, you will find a peace that passes all understanding. It is not a distant goal. It is a ground you are already standing on. It is the gold in the box. It is the now.